Hello and welcome to day 63 of the N8N series. Now, we all are humans and we tend to make mistakes. But this mistake should not cost us money. And the reason we are covering this today is because one of the intern in our team had done this mistake and that costed us money. And I don't want you to make the same mistake and get into this trap. So, let's see what was that mistake and how do we avoid that mistake. Let's get started. So I've created a folder called settings to avoid mistake, and let's create our workflow there. Now, we all have used schedule trigger, right? The mistake that the intern had done was trigger interval was seconds, and this was made as 1 second. And there was a lot of things happening, because of which all the credits that we had got consumed in like just 30 seconds. Okay, so we had to take the higher plan, which costed us some amount. Okay, and this is going to be tricky, right? None of your workflows will work if you have not taken the plan, and everything gets consumed by this one, which is pretty sad. Okay, now I've created this particular workflow and I'm not doing anything else, so I'll just activate this. Let's call this as schedule 1. Okay, and I'm going back to the folder. I'm going to create one more workflow, which is also going to be schedule, and let's keep this in minutes, 5 minutes. And I'm going to call this as schedule 2. Let's go back. Let's create one more workflow. And this is the settings workflow that I was talking about. Okay, so I am going to start with trigger manually. So if you are able to hear crackers noise, that means that I was shooting this video during Deepavali. Okay, I hope it's not annoying when you are watching this video. Okay, now we will search for N8N, and we have this option called get many workflows. I'll use this particular account. And we can have written all, or we can have a limit. Okay, and we have this particular filter called written only active workflows. Okay, I would just like to see if I enable the second one. So schedule 2 was not activated, so I'll activate this. Now that's activated. Let's go on. Okay, so we have got get many, and we've added written only active workflows. Okay, so I'm going to run this. I'm going to run this, and we've got 23 items which are active on our account. Now out of 23 workflows that we have, we want to get only the ones which has schedule trigger. Okay, and that's why what we are going to do is we are going to use something called json.nodes.map tag, then tag name, and this is an array. So we're going to go with this one and contains, and this we have to use schedule trigger. Okay, let's run this, and you can see that we have got 7 items out of 23 which has schedule trigger. So this is the first filter that we're going to use, and the next filter that we're going to use is going to be filter. Out of those 7, this is one of them. Okay, and we have seconds interval as 1. Okay, this is the one which we have 1 second, which runs every 1 second. Okay, and we are going to check if this is seconds, and we're going to execute this step. And you can see that out of 7, we've got 1 which is in seconds. The field is seconds. Okay, I'll show you that. If we go here and search for second, you can see here seconds interval. Now the second filter that we've used is where we check that it is being done for seconds. Okay, what I mean by that is, now we have got all the workflows which has schedule trigger, and if we go here, we have this nodes, node 0. Node 0 is the trigger node. We have rule, interval. Okay, and fields is called weeks here. Okay, this is running every week, right? Now let's go. Okay, so we will be able to see only one workflow here. Okay, but like this weeks, we will have something called seconds as well. Okay, and this is going to be seconds. Let's execute this step. And you can see out of 7, we've got just one which has field called seconds. Okay, rest of the 6 we have different values there. Now we can use this N8N. Okay, and we have something called deactivate a workflow. Okay, let's use the same account, and this one is going to be by ID, and the ID is going to be this particular thing. Okay, let me execute this then, and this is executed. Let's go back to the folder where we had all of this, and you can see this schedule 1 is enabled.
Schedule 2 got deactivated. Schedule 2 was the one with seconds.
As previous. Now let's quickly check what has happened here. Okay, so you can see here schedule 1 got deactivated, which was seconds. So if I open this up, you can see this was seconds, right? While the schedule 2, which was in minutes, didn't get deactivated. Okay, now the biggest question could be, when do you run this? Because this we did manual trigger. So do we have to come here and manually trigger this? Not really. Okay, one of the things that we can do is we can add a schedule trigger. Okay, and it could be run every day or every hour or whatever it is. But is there a way how we can enable this or deactivate a workflow as soon as there is a workflow that has got enabled, which has schedule trigger in seconds? And the answer is yes. So what we are going to do is, let's keep this as is, and let's go here and search for when executed by another workflow. Okay, define using fields below, and all we need is workflow ID, and this is a string. Okay, let's just get this over here, and we'll come to this flows later. I'll go over here and I'll create one more workflow, and this time this is going to be N8N, and we have a trigger called on active workflow updated, on instance started, on workflow activated. Okay, so we will go over here, right? Whenever we are activating a workflow, and I'll go over here, and we have a node called sub workflow, execute sub workflow. Okay, execute sub workflow is what we need to use here. Okay, within database from list, and what we need is settings. Okay, run once with all items or run once for each item. So pass all items into a single execution of a sub workflow. Call the sub workflow individually for each item. So we're going to use this one. Okay, so once we are done, now here this is going to be settings, and I think it's N8N settings if I'm not wrong. Let's quickly check. No, it's just settings. We are supposed to get a parameter here. Okay, so let's save this. Okay, and let's go back here and let's refresh this, and you see here we have got the workflow ID. We will put this workflow ID here, execute step. Okay, and that has got called over here. Okay, and for that we'll have to go to executions, and this is the execution that ran with that flow. Yeah. Okay, let's click on copy to editor. Okay, so we get that value onto this particular node, and we don't need get many workflows now, right? We just need get workflow, and this is going to be by ID, and we will connect this one here, and the workflow ID is going to be this one. Okay, now we could also do one thing. We could add this particular filter from here to here. Okay, delete this, put it over here, right? Let's go here, get this particular workflow, paste it over here. Okay, and call that flow, which is disable the workflow. It's not called settings, it is disable flow. Okay, And we could now remove this and this, right? And we don't need this either. All we need is web ID, and which is anyways coming from here, right? So let's click on save over here. Let's go back here. Okay, let's see if we have to enable anything. And yes. Oh, yeah. So we need to add here, which is N8N, and get a workflow. Use this particular account and ID. I've got the workflow ID here. Okay, so let's run this. Let's go here. Okay, now this is working. Now this will also be working. Let's run this. And if you go here, you can see this one. Now this and this should also work. Let's see what happens. Okay, now I'll click on save. Now I'll enable this. Okay, let's click on OK. And this is fine. This is fine. Let's quickly check if this is saved. We cannot enable this because this is a sub workflow. Okay, I'll go back to the folder and schedule 1, which was of sockets. I'm going to enable this. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, this is not connected, and that's because if we go back to this one, we don't have that field meant for sockets. Okay, and that's because we have got a workflow which is of type my workflow 76. It has got this thing it's in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to the folder. So let's go to the schedule 1, which was deactivated back then. I'm going to enable this, right? And let's go here and let's kind of fetch this one. Did it fetch the same thing again? Yes, it has fetched the same thing again. Let's deactivate this, right? And let's deactivate this again, activate this again, and now fetch this. Now here you can see that this is not green because we don't have anything called parameters, tools, intervals field in this particular workflow. Okay, we have fetched my workflow 76. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate this, right? Of course it is saved, and this also I'm firstly going to disable. This is activated, this is activated. Let's just unpin this just in case. Let's click on save and let's activate this one. Let's go back here. Let's go to executions. Let's just wait for a few seconds. So the reason why we are doing this particular video today is one of our team member, he was an intern and he wanted to test something where he used a schedule trigger and he changed that to run it every minute. Okay, because he wanted to see what exactly happens, and then he forgot to change it back to every day. Okay, and it was an active workflow and it kept running every minute. Okay, and all our credits were consumed very soon without we realizing it. So here we are going to add one field which is called workflow ID, and that's a string. Okay, we'll execute step and now we're going to get null. That's fine. Okay, we don't need this, so leave it out. So inform your team members that whenever they're going to use whenever they want to test something for every second or every minute or something like that, okay, they can, like, we create this particular flow, okay, which will deactivate the workflow, and on the workflow wherever they want to change the schedule, okay, to every minute, they can just add something called N8N, right? and go to triggers, okay, and use on workflow activated. So if you see here, we have triggers when this workflow is activated. Okay, so we will have it here, and we will call a sub workflow. Say execute a sub workflow. Okay, so firstly, let's run this. Let's go here, and this is going to be from list, and we need settings. No, we have called this as disable flow. Right, I changed it in between. Sorry, I've changed this to disable flow. And now we need the workflow ID, which is this one. So I'm going to add this. Okay. So we have run once with all items or run once for each item. Because we are dealing with just one of this workflow, when you would run once each item. Okay, and then execute step. Okay. So now pay close attention. I'm going to save this. So we'll go back to this flow. Okay, and I'm going to execution, and I'll click on this one, which is where we would have got the new workflow ID because we've called this. Now let's go back here. Okay, here you see we've got this, right? This we got just now for the workflow that we used there. And this is in the executions. Okay, and we have to copy to editor. So we get that particular this thing here. And let's connect this. Now we don't need get many workflows because we just need one. Okay, and that is going to be by ID, and the ID is what we have sent from that particular workflow. Okay, and I'm going to run this. I'll have to unpin this. Yeah, that's fine, I guess. Unpin and then just run this. Yeah. So this will get us the details of the workflow that we have got from schedule 1. Here we have the filter, which we're going to run. Okay, and then we have this filter, which we are checking if it is seconds. Okay, I showed you for seconds, it could also be minutes, right? And okay, finally we are going to deactivate that. And because the scenario was testing, okay, sometimes we'll enable it for testing and we don't want it to keep running. So what we will do is we'll go here and add a wait. Okay, and the wait is going to be 5 minutes. Okay, if you want to do it for seconds, then maybe, I don't know, we'll have to put just 1 second, 1 minute or something. This time it is 5 minutes. Okay, so let's click on save. And because this is a sub workflow, we cannot activate it. Okay, we'll go here. Now, because we have this, okay, is I make it as minutes. I'm going to make it as minutes. Okay, and click on save. And I'm going to activate this. Click on got it. Let's go to disable flow. Let's go to executions. You can see here, this has already started running. Okay, it's actually waiting for 5 minutes now. Okay, so whatever testing you're doing, okay, you could do it here and it will automatically disable it, right, if the workflow is activated. This way, any scheduled trigger that is available, okay, that will not keep running by itself, it will automatically get deactivated. Of course, we'll have to remember to add this, and you can have this handy. Okay, so whenever you need to test it for scheduling every second or every minute or something like that, this can get run and it will disable even if we forget to. And now our entire team uses this particular workflow so that whenever they're testing it with schedule for seconds or minutes or something like that, this will get triggered and within 5 minutes that gets deactivated. So it will help us save on the credits that gets wasted just like that because of that human error. I hope this was helpful, and if so, please share it with other N8N enthusiasts. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.